Okay, so there's this huge mystery at the very heart of the global economy. It's something that affects almost every single one of us. It shapes our financial stability, and it even helped light the fuse for the last major financial crisis. I'm talking about household debt, and today we're diving in to solve it.
Look, pretty much anywhere you look in the developed world, household debt is at an all-time high. And I'm not talking about a little bump here or there. We are literally at record-breaking, never-before-seen levels.
And, this isn't just some boring number on a spreadsheet. The research we're digging into today makes it super clear. This massive pile of debt, it was a key player in the 2008 financial meltdown. So yeah, the stakes are incredibly high.
So that brings us to the big question, right? We get it. Debt is high. But why? What's the real big picture force that's pushing all of us to borrow more and more?
All right, to crack this case, economists have lined up a few usual suspects. So let's treat this like an economic whodunit, okay? We've got 7 main theories on the table.
So here's our lineup of suspects. You've got rising house prices. Pretty simple. Your house is worth more, so you can borrow more. Then there's financial assets. Your stocks go up, so you borrow to invest more. Suspect number 3. Expenditure cascades. That's a fancy way of saying keeping up with the Joneses or the Bezoses. Then you've got falling wages, when your paycheck just doesn't cover the bills. Next up, welfare retrenchment. The government provides less, so you have to borrow more for things like healthcare. We also have age structure. Basically, a country with more young people might have more debt. And finally, the big one everyone talks about, low interest rates, making money super cheap to borrow.
Okay, so to make sense of this list, we can kind of group these suspects by their motive. And this really gets to a fundamental question about us, doesn't it? Are we borrowing because we're ambitious and we want more stuff, or is it pure necessity? We just have no other choice.
So let's put 2 of these theories head to head. On one side, you have ambition. That's the expenditure cascades idea. It's the theory that we see how the other half lives and we borrow to get a little taste of it. But on the other side, you've got necessity, the falling wages theory. This one's way less optimistic. It says that for a lot of us, paychecks just aren't keeping up, and debt is the only thing filling that gap.
And that idea of necessity, well, it points the finger at another suspect, the government. This is called the welfare retrenchment hypothesis. The argument goes like this. As governments have pulled back on things like funding for education or healthcare, regular people have had to step in and borrow privately to cover those costs. Basically, debt is just filling the void.
But hold on, what if it's not about our personal choices, or even what the government does or doesn't do? What if the whole system, the entire financial machine, is designed to get us into debt?
This is where a very popular suspect enters the room, the central banks. The low interest rate hypothesis is pretty straightforward. The argument is that by keeping interest rates crazy low for so long, they basically put a giant 50% off sign on borrowing money. And when money is that cheap, it's really, really hard for people to say no.
Okay, so we've got our 7 suspects. They all have a solid motive. The researchers in this study took all of them and put them on trial, basically. They crunched the numbers from 13 different countries over almost 20 years. And now, it's time for the verdict.
So after all that work, after putting all 7 theories to the test with real-world data, which one was it? What was the single biggest, most consistent reason for all this rising debt?
And the answer was actually shockingly clear. It turns out things like falling wages and low interest rates, yeah, they matter a bit, but they're not the main story. No, the single biggest culprit, the one that stood out again and again, was residential house prices, the price of our own homes. Let me just repeat that because it's so important. Across all 13 countries, over all those years, the one thing that consistently and powerfully predicted that household debt would go up was house prices going up. The connection was stronger than for any other suspect in our lineup. It wasn't even close.
So you might be asking, okay, but how does that actually work? Well, it happens in 2 key ways. First, there's what's called the collateral effect. It's simple. Your house is suddenly worth more, so the bank sees it as better collateral and is happy to lend you a lot more money against it. And second, there's the wealth effect. This one's more psychological. You see the value of your house go up on paper, and you just feel richer. And that feeling makes you way more comfortable borrowing against that newfound wealth to buy a car, go on vacation, you name it.
All right, so we've found our number 1 suspect. Case closed, right? Well, not exactly. The really important question is, so what? Why does this matter to you, to me, and to the economy as a whole?
The big takeaway here is actually pretty simple and honestly a little unsettling. If the housing market is what's driving all this debt, it means our personal financial stability is completely chained to the crazy roller coaster of real estate. Think about it. When prices go up, we all borrow more. But when they inevitably come down, that debt we took on, it doesn't magically vanish.
The good news is, this research does hint at some possible solutions. It basically says, hey, if you want to get a handle on all this debt, you have to get a handle on the housing market. So the paper throws out a few ideas, like maybe making it harder to pull equity out of your mortgage, or cooling things down by building more public housing, or even, and this is a big one, putting some kind of cap on house prices.
And all of this leaves us with one last, kind of provocative question to chew on. For generations, we've been told that owning a home is the key to financial security, right? It's the bedrock of the middle-class dream. But if this study is right, if our homes are the main thing pushing us deeper and deeper into debt, then you have to wonder, is that dream